Vrexx had never witnessed anything like it in his 16 cycles as a medical professional. The human patient in Bay 4 was making sounds repetitive, melodic sounds that rose and fell in pitch all while his vital signs remained stable. According to the databanks, this was not a symptom of any known human illness, yet it continued uninterrupted for nearly 6 minutes. The alien nurse wondered if perhaps his own senses were failing him. The human had been brought to Stellar Medical Center on Outpost Epsilon 9 after a mining accident in the asteroid belt. His name was Yance Ortega, according to his identification chip, and he was the only human assigned to a predominantly Corvani mining operation. The accident had left him with multiple fractures to his lower limbs and a concussion, but nothing life-threatening by human standards. Vrexx adjusted his ocular implants, hoping they might be malfunctioning. But no, the sounds persisted. He checked the neural monitors, no signs of seizure activity. The oxygen levels were nominal. The pain management system was functioning properly. "Computer, is the audio receptor in Bay 4 functioning correctly?" Vrexx asked, his voice a soft buzz in the empty monitoring station. "All systems in Bay 4 are operating within normal parameters," the computer responded. Vrexx's skin shifted from its normal pale blue to a concerned violet. Perhaps this was a previously undocumented human response to trauma or medication. As the senior nurse on duty during the night cycle, he couldn't simply ignore such an unusual development. He decided to investigate personally. The hospital's corridors were quiet, illuminated by the soft glow of bioluminescent panels designed to accommodate the various visual sensitivities of the station's multi-species population. As Vrexx approached Bay 4, the sounds grew louder. They were not random or chaotic as would be expected from a hallucination or neural malfunction. They had structure, repetition, rhythm. He hesitated at the door, his medical training suddenly seeming inadequate for whatever awaited him. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the human lay on the recovery platform, eyes closed, chest rising and falling steadily. And from his mouth came those sounds organized, deliberate. "Mr. Ortega," Vrexx ventured, moving closer. "Are you in distress?" The sound stopped abruptly. The human opened his eyes brown, Vrexx noted, with that peculiar white sclere that always made humans look perpetually surprised to Corvani sensibilities. "Oh, hello," Yance said, his voice now flat and normal. "Sorry, I didn't realize anyone was around. Are you experiencing discomfort, pain?" "Neurological symptoms?" Vrexx asked, quickly scanning the biomonitors above the bed. Yance looked confused. "No, I was just singing, to pass the time." "Singing," Vrexx repeated, the unfamiliar word processing through his translator. His skin lightened slightly with relief. "This is a deliberate activity." "Yeah, it's music. Do Corvani not sing?" Vrexx's four-fingered hand moved to adjust a setting on the pain management system, buying time while he processed this information. "Corvani communicate through vocal patterns, yes, but not for recreation." "It helps me relax," Yance explained, shifting slightly and wincing as he moved his injured leg. "The doctor said I'll be here for at least a week, so I was just trying to make myself comfortable." Vrexx noticed the pain response and increased the analgesic flow slightly. "Your cultural database mentioned nothing about this singing. I believed you might be hallucinating." Yance laughed, then grimaced again. "Sorry, it hurts to laugh. No, singing is pretty universal among humans. Different styles, different traditions, but we all do it." Vrexx's skin rippled with fascination, shifting to a pale green of curiosity. "Would you demonstrate further, for medical documentation purposes, of course?" Yance smiled. "Sure, though I'm not exactly in top form." He cleared his throat and began to sing again, a simple melody about distant stars and homecoming. Vrexx stood transfixed. The harmonics were complex, the patterns intricate. How had he never encountered this in his xenobiological studies? He recorded the session, already composing the research note he would add to the human medical database. When Yance finished, Vrexx realized he had been standing motionless for nearly 2 minutes. Fascinating, and all humans can perform this function. "Well, some better than others," Yance said with a small smile, But yeah, pretty much everyone can sing something. Vrexx made notes on his datapad. Does this singing serve a physiological purpose? Stress reduction, pain management? Sometimes, yeah, lullabies help children sleep. Work songs make hard labor easier to bear. Love songs. Yance trailed off, his expression changing subtly. You are experiencing emotional distress, Vrexx observed, noting the change in vital signs. Yance sighed. I'm a long way from home. The mining contract pays well, but I miss Earth. I miss my family, he gestured to his broken legs, and now this. Vrexx considered this information. Emotional well-being was a factor in physical recovery, according to all medical literature. Would continued singing assist your recovery process? Maybe. It couldn't hurt, right? Yance attempted to adjust his position again, and Vrexx quickly moved to help him. I will update your file to indicate that this activity is beneficial and should not be interpreted as a symptom, Vrexx said. Would you require any special equipment for optimal singing? Yance laughed again, more carefully this time. No, just my voice, though back home I'd sometimes use a guitar that's a string instrument. I will research this guitar and determine if our fabrication unit could produce one, Vrexx said, making another note. For your recovery, of course. That's really nice of you, Yance said, seeming genuinely touched. It is my function to facilitate healing, Vrexx replied simply. Your next pain medication is scheduled in 4 hours. Is there anything else you require? I'm good for now, thanks. Yance settled back against the pillows. Though I wouldn't mind learning a Corvani song sometime if you have them. Vrexx paused at the door. We have communication patterns, not songs, but perhaps there could be an exchange of cultural information that might be mutually beneficial. I'd like that, Yance said. Vrexx left the room, his mind buzzing with new information. He immediately began updating the human medical profile on the station's database. Under cultural behaviors of medical significance, he added a new entry. Singing harmonic vocal patterns produced for emotional regulation and cultural expression, not a sign of neurological distress. As his shift continued, Vrexx found himself returning to Bay 4 more frequently than strictly necessary. Each time, he learned something new about human music. Yance explained concepts like melody, harmony, rhythm, and lyrics. He demonstrated different styles from his homeworld, something called blues, that Vrexx found particularly intriguing in its mathematical precision, disguised as emotional expression. By the 3rd night of Yance's stay, several other staff members had become curious about the sounds coming from Bay 4. Dr. Kellnar, the chief physician, even stopped by to observe. You've made quite the discovery, Nurse Vrexx, she said, her Plexian tentacles rippling with amusement. The human's recovery rate is exceeding projections. The singing appears to have therapeutic benefits, Vrexx explained. It regulates breathing, reduces stress indicators, and provides mental stimulation during confinement. Indeed. I've authorized your request for the fabrication of this guitar instrument. Consider it a medical experiment. Vrexx's skin flushed a pleased orange. Thank you, doctor. When the fabrication unit completed the guitar, a reasonable approximation based on database specifications, Vrexx brought it to Yance during the quiet middle of the night cycle. It may not be precisely correct, Vrexx warned, presenting the instrument. Our materials differ from Earth equivalents. Yance's face lit up as he took the guitar. His fingers moved over the strings, adjusting small knobs at the top. It needs tuning, but this is amazing. How did you manage this? The station's fabrication unit can produce most non-complex items given proper specifications, Vrexx explained. The strings proved challenging. We used a synthetic fiber usually reserved for surgical sutures. Yance strummed the guitar, winced at the discordant sound, and continued adjusting. Give me a few minutes to tune it. Vrexx watched, fascinated, as Yance manipulated the instrument, listening intently to each string and making minute adjustments until he seemed satisfied. Okay, let's see how it sounds. Yance began to play, his fingers moving with practiced ease despite his injuries. The sound that filled the room was unlike anything Vrexx had heard before, complex, structured, yet fluid. Then Yance began to sing along with his playing, and the effect was even more profound. That was impressive, Vrexx said when Yance finished. You have significant skill with this instrument. I've been playing since I was a kid, Yance explained. My dad taught me. This song is called Homeward Bound. It's about missing the places and people you love. The emotional content is evident even to non-human perception, Vrexx noted. Is all human music so? Feeling focused? A lot of it, yeah. Music expresses things we sometimes can't say directly. Yance strummed a few more chords. What about Corvani? You said you don't have songs, but you must have something similar art, expression. Vrexx considered the question. We have mathematical harmonics patterns of sound and light that we find aesthetically pleasing because of their structural integrity, but they do not convey emotion as your music does. Could you show me? Yance asked. Vrexx hesitated, then produced a small device from his medical kit. This is a personal harmonics generator. It is uncommon to share these with non-Corvani. He activated the device, and the air filled with a complex pattern of tones precise, mathematical, beautiful in their structured perfection. Yance listened intently. It's like geometry in sound. Beautiful, but in a different way than human music. Yes, we appreciate the mathematical precision, the perfect ratios and sequences. Maybe there's a way to combine them, Yance suggested, your mathematical precision with human emotional expression. The idea was novel. Corvani rarely experimented with their traditional harmonics. That would be unprecedented. The best discoveries usually are, Yance said with a smile. He began to play again, but this time attempted to incorporate elements of the Corvani harmonic patterns Vrexx had demonstrated. The result was strange, but not unpleasant, a hybrid of mathematical precision and emotional fluidity. Vrexx found his skin shifting through several colors as he listened, finally settling on a deep indigo of profound interest. This exchange has potential beyond medical applications, Vrexx said when Yance finished. Cultural understanding between species is valuable for the station's functioning. And it's just fun, Yance added. Thanks for bringing me the guitar, it really helps with being stuck here. Your bone regeneration is proceeding efficiently, Vrexx assured him. Another 5 days and you should be ready for physical rehabilitation. 5 more days of hospital food, Yance grimaced. At least I have music to keep me company now. Over the next few days, word spread throughout the medical center about the human who made music. Staff members from various species found reasons to pass by Bay 4 during their shifts. Some stayed to listen, their reactions varying from confusion to fascination. Vrexx documented everything, creating a comprehensive file on human musical expression and its apparent medical benefits. Yance's recovery continued to exceed expectations. His bone regeneration was proceeding at the upper range of human healing capabilities, and his psychological evaluations showed none of the depression common in long-term care patients. On Yance's 5th day at the medical center, Vrexx arrived for his shift to find an unusual crowd gathered near Bay 4. Staff members from multiple departments had assembled, some bringing their own cultural instruments or sound devices. What is happening here? Vrexx asked Dr. Kelnar, who was observing from nearby. It seems your human has started something of a cultural exchange program, she explained. They're sharing musical traditions from their respective worlds. Inside Bay 4, Yance sat propped up in bed, guitar in hand, listening intently as a Zyridian engineer demonstrated a resonance flute. The Zyridian produced wavering, hollow notes that filled the room, while Yance nodded along, occasionally strumming his guitar to complement the alien sounds. This is not standard medical protocol, Vrexx noted, though his skin had shifted to an interested green. No, but it falls under cultural integration activities, which are encouraged by station administration, Dr. Kelnar replied. Besides, the human's recovery metrics continue to improve. I see no medical reason to intervene. Vrexx nodded and moved closer to observe. When the Zyridian finished, Yance played a complimentary piece on his guitar, incorporating elements of the alien music into his human melody. The result was strange but harmonious, Nurse Vrexx. Yance called out, spotting him, "Come join us, we're having an impromptu concert." "I am on duty," Vrexx replied hesitantly. Consider it therapeutic observation, Dr. Kellner suggested, her tentacles waving with amusement. Reluctantly, Vrexx approached, aware that many eyes and other sensory organs were now focused on him. I do not perform, he explained, just show them the harmonics generator, Yance encouraged. What you showed me the other night. Vrexx produced the device, feeling unusually self-conscious. Among Corvani, harmonics were personal, almost intimate. Sharing them with other species was uncommon. This is a standard Corvani harmonic pattern, he explained, activating the device. The precise, mathematical sounds filled the room, causing various reactions among the assembled aliens, some leaning forward with interest, others shifting uncomfortably. Now listen to this, Yance said, beginning to play along with the harmonics. He matched the mathematical precision of the Corvani patterns, but added subtle variations, emotional inflections that somehow maintained the structural integrity while adding something new. Vrexx found his skin shifting rapidly through colors as he listened. The combination was unlike anything in his experience, neither purely Corvani nor purely human, but something new altogether. When they finished, there was a moment of silence, then various sounds of approval from the assembled aliens' clicks, hums, rippling lights, and more traditional applause from those with appendages suitable for the purpose. That was most harmonious, the Zyridian engineer commented. A successful integration of disparate traditions. More performances followed. A Galarian security officer demonstrated resonant humming. A Traxian cook played percussion on various surfaces with his 4 arms. A human technician from engineering sang a traditional Earth ballad. Each shared something from their world, and each time Yance found ways to incorporate his guitar, building bridges between utterly different musical concepts. Vrexx remained, long past when he should have continued his rounds, documenting everything. This was no longer merely a medical curiosity, it was becoming something more significant. As the impromptu gathering dispersed, Yance looked tired but happier than Vrexx had seen him since his admission. That was incredible, Yance said. I've never experienced anything like it. Nor have they, Vrexx replied, adjusting Yance's medications. Your singing has created quite the cultural phenomenon. Music is universal, Yance said, carefully setting the guitar aside. Well, maybe not universal exactly, each species has their own thing. But the desire to create and share patterns of sound, that seems pretty common. An interesting hypothesis, Vrexx acknowledged. Your vital signs indicate fatigue, you should rest now. Yeah, I'm pretty wiped out, Yance agreed, settling back, but it was worth it. For a while, I forgot I was stuck in a hospital bed light years from home. A psychological benefit, Vrexx noted, making another entry in his datapad. I will continue to document this effect. Over the next 2 days, the musical gatherings continued, becoming more organized. Station administration took notice, and by the time Yance was ready to begin physical rehabilitation, there was talk of establishing a permanent cultural exchange program centered around musical expression. Vrexx supervised Yance's first attempts at walking with the assistance of a mobility field, a low-gravity bubble that reduced stress on his healing bones. How does it feel? Vrexx asked as Yance took careful steps around the rehabilitation chamber. Strange, Yance admitted, but not painful. Your bone regenerators did a good job. The technology is standard, but your body's response was exceptional, Vrexx said. I believe your singing contributed to the efficient healing process. Maybe, Yance smiled, or maybe I just had a really good nurse. Vrex's skin flashed a brief pink of embarrassment before returning to its professional blue. Medical staff performance was within expected parameters. Take 3 more steps, then rest. Yance complied, moving carefully within the mobility field. Have you thought any more about that hybrid music we created, the human Corvani fusion? I have analyzed the harmonics, Vrexx admitted. The mathematical structures remain sound despite the emotional variations you introduced. It is compelling. We should develop it further, Yance suggested, pausing to rest as instructed. I've been talking with some of the others. There's interest in continuing what we started, maybe creating new forms that combine elements from multiple species. You will be returning to your mining assignment soon, Vrexx pointed out. Medical projections indicate you will be cleared for light duty within 5 days. Actually, Yance said, looking slightly sheepish, I've been offered a position here on the station. Cultural liaison in the Community Integration Department. Apparently, my impromptu hospital concerts impressed someone in administration. Vrexx processed this information. That is, unexpected. Good unexpected or bad unexpected? Yance asked, resuming his careful walking. Neither. It is simply a deviation from the projected outcome. Vrexx paused, then added, though it would allow for continued observation of the therapeutic effects of cross-species musical exchange. Is that your way of saying you're glad I'm staying? Yance grinned. Vrexx's skin rippled briefly. It is my way of acknowledging potential medical and cultural benefits. I'll take that, Yance said. So, would you be interested in continuing our musical experiments, outside of hospital hours, of course? The question caught Vrexx off guard. Corvani typically maintained professional distance from other species, yet the harmonics they had created together were genuinely fascinating from both a mathematical and cultural perspective. I would be willing to participate in structured cultural exchange activities, Vrexx said carefully. For research purposes. Great. Yance's enthusiasm was evident. Once I'm discharged, we could meet at the station's recreation center. I hear they have sound-isolated rooms we could use. That would be acceptable, Vrexx agreed, making a note to research the recreation facilities. The next few days passed quickly. Yance's recovery continued to progress well, and soon he was walking with only minimal assistance. The musical gatherings in Bay 4 became a regular feature of the medical center's routine, with staff planning their breaks around the informal performances. On Yance's final day before discharge, Vrexx arrived for his shift to find the human sitting on the edge of his bed, fully dressed in civilian clothing, guitar case packed beside him. Nurse Vrexx, Yance greeted him with a smile. Perfect timing. I was hoping to see you before I left. I am scheduled to process your discharge, Vrexx explained, checking the final medical readings. All indicators are within acceptable parameters. You are cleared to leave the medical center. Thanks to you, Yance said. I wanted to give you something before I go. He reached into his pocket and produced a small device. It's a modified harmonics generator. I worked with one of the engineers to combine Corvani mathematical patterns with human musical scales. Vrexx accepted the device, examining it with curiosity. This is unexpected. Try it, Yance encouraged. Vrexx activated the device, and the room filled with sounds recognizably Corvani in their mathematical precision, but with subtle variations that evoked emotional responses he rarely experienced. His skin shifted through several colors before settling on a deep purple of wonder. The harmonics are enhanced, he said finally, more complex yet somehow more resonant. That's what I thought too, Yance said. It's a thank you gift. For saving my life, for bringing me the guitar, for everything. I was performing my assigned medical functions, Vrexx pointed out. You did more than that, Yance insisted. You listened. You tried to understand something completely foreign to your experience. That's rare in my experience. Vrexx considered this. Perhaps understanding is a necessary component of effective medical care that I had previously undervalued. See, still learning, Yance grinned. So, are we still on for those cultural exchange sessions at the recreation center? I have reserved time in Sound Isolation Chamber 3 for the day after tomorrow, when I am next off duty, Vrexx confirmed. I have been researching additional Corvani harmonic patterns that might be compatible with your human musical structures. Perfect, Yance said, standing carefully. I should get going. They're expecting me at administration to process my new position paperwork. One moment, Vrexx said, producing his datapad. I have a final question for my research. When you were first admitted and I heard you singing, I believed I was experiencing a hallucination. This misunderstanding led to our cultural exchange and your eventual change of occupation. Do you consider this outcome positive? Yance laughed. Definitely positive. Sometimes the best things come from misunderstandings. It forces us to explain ourselves to really communicate. Vrexx made a final note. An interesting perspective. I will add it to my research on cross-species communication protocols. Always the scientist, Yance said, picking up his guitar case. "I'll see you in 2 days, Vrexx. Bring your harmonics." After Yance left, Vrexx completed the discharge documentation and returned to his regular duties. But throughout his shift, he found himself thinking about the modified harmonics generator in his pocket and the strange new sounds it created, neither fully Corvani nor human, but something new altogether. 3 cycles later, Vrexx presented his research at the Interstellar Medical Conference, a comprehensive study on the therapeutic benefits of musical expression across species. The presentation included recordings of various musical collaborations from Outpost Epsilon 9, which had since established a formal cultural harmonics program under Yance Ortega's direction. The initial misdiagnosis, mistaking human singing for a hallucination, led to an unexpected discovery, Vrexx explained to the assembled medical professionals. What began as a simple cultural misunderstanding has developed into a therapeutic modality with applications across multiple species. The data was compelling. Patients participating in musical exchange activities showed improved recovery rates, better psychological outcomes, and enhanced community integration. What had started as one nurse's confusion had become a recognized treatment protocol. After the conference, Vrexx returned to Outpost Epsilon 9, where the Cultural Harmonics program had grown to occupy an entire section of the recreation center. Yance greeted him with the easy familiarity that had developed between them over the past 6 months. "How was the conference?" Yance asked, helping Vrexx set up his equipment for their regular session. "Productive. The research was well received. 3 other medical facilities have requested implementation protocols." "Not bad for something that started with you thinking I was hallucinating," Yance laughed. "Indeed." "It is a reminder that medical understanding is never complete," Vrexx acknowledged. "There are always new variables to consider. Like the fact that humans sometimes just make noise for fun," Yance suggested, tuning his guitar precisely. Vrexx activated his harmonics generator, the modified one Yance had given him, which he had continued to refine. "Shall we begin?" Together, they created something neither of their species had ever produced before, a harmony that bridged the gap between mathematical precision and emotional expression, between alien and human understanding. And as the sounds filled the room, Vrexx reflected that perhaps the most effective medicine wasn't always found in databases or treatment protocols. Sometimes, it was found in the willingness to listen to an unfamiliar song and discover that what seemed like a hallucination was simply another way of expressing what it meant to be alive in a vast and diverse universe. The once confusing sounds of human singing had become something Vrexx now understood not just as a nurse documenting a cultural phenomenon, but as a participant in the ongoing exchange of ideas and expressions that defined life on the outpost. What had begun as a medical curiosity had become something much more, a bridge between worlds, built note by note, harmony by harmony. And that, perhaps, was the most unexpected healing of all.